Jaime here from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today card 2 in my card set series featuring MFT's Alpine Friends stamp set, a Slimline string slider. I started by ink blending my 3.5 by 8.5 inch panel here with Distress Oxides in Speckled Egg and Broken China. It actually looked a whole lot better in real life than it does in camera. I never understand why it looks so blotchy on camera. I did work it back and forth a little bit here to get that blend in the middle a little bit smoother. I'm telling you, it looked way better in real life than it ended up on here. And then I'm coming in with some Brutus Monroe frosted Aqua pigments. This just has that mica sheen to it. And yes, my white acrylic paint here is obviously old, and so it did not come out as planned. I will say this, why I think I can splatter a background panel without putting it in my splat box is beyond me. I mean, I splattered it, it worked just fine. I just have white splatter everywhere. I don't know how people do it. Yeah. I'm already a messy crafter as it is in my natural habitat, but them splatters go everywhere. I'm probably going to be cleaning them up for weeks. So my idea was that I could use a skinny little straw, and I think my issue was with my area that I had to put that slider mechanism onto my image. Nothing to do with the stamp set per se, as my thought process on it didn't go as planned, just because there's not a whole lot of real estate, shall we say, on those 3 little wheels on the top of that stamped image. And so I was thinking I could use a skinny straw and or a drink stirrer style straw to slide my mechanism across the top. Now I'm using a black heavier weight cord. It's kind of the weight of embroidery floss, but it's got I don't know, more of a stiffness to it than embroidery floss, so I thought it would work. Now I end up switching this out later on, and I'll tell you this, by the time I figured out that it was more had to do with the amount of weight on my slider mechanism where that slider feature is, then it really had to do with the string I used. I probably could have saved myself a lot of steps and or stress, headaches, whatever. But this is what I love doing. And we talked about MOJO and not having a whole lot of it a couple of videos ago. I did do my Halloween card. My Halloween card definitely just triggered my love of creating. And so if you're having MOJO issues, definitely do something you absolutely love. I absolutely love Halloween. I just love creating whatever when it comes to Halloween stuff. I just let my mind go crazy with it. And it really did kind of kickstart that creativity again. So if that's something you struggle with, what is something you absolutely love doing? Is it Halloween? Is it Christmas? Is it mixed media pieces? Any of that, to get you back into the thing. I love figuring out things, and so that was definitely where this one came in, and where the series of cards came in. I love figuring out stuff, so interactive for me is definitely a kick in the MOJO butt. So I did finish my panel per se when it comes to scene. I kept this one scene wise super simple because I didn't want anything to get in the way of my slider mechanism. So my slider was getting caught on that string, so I thought I'll bring in some Waxy Flax. I think it's called Waxy Flax. So waxed flax or twine, basically. It used to be all the rage back in the day. I don't know. It was a close to my heart thing. I'm pretty sure it was in the industry as a whole, but they called it Waxy Flax. for close to my heart. That's where mine came from. So that's what I'm pulling in here, thinking that this is going to be the bead all to end all, right? Like it's going to make that slider mechanism work like magic. It worked great until I added the actual slider that needed to go on my slider mechanism. So I'm adding another layer of double stick tape, running this through it. The blank little piece ran through it just fine. It's the fact that you have such a small amount of weight on the top of the string and the pendulum, because it kind of gives it more of that pendulum swing, and so it gets caught on whatever you have there for twine and or string. I realized that after this. So I am burnishing in another layer of that double-sided tape. It's sticking just fine, and this is where I'm like, it's still getting caught. I think the straw method would be great with a little bit bigger straw and not this pendulum style stamp. Anything that's got more bulk there and doesn't have so much. And I even tried with the anti-static powder tool to try to give it some slide there. It just was not having any of it. And I'm pretty sure it was a weight issue. I do add some weight onto the back of this one. It still just was not giving me what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to be free flowing. I didn't want it to get caught and or stuck, and the recipient having a hard time moving it along there. So I did come in and add some washers to the back, thinking if I added more weight, that was going to help. I mean, it does help it move in the end. I end up adding quite a bit more weight in the end. So I'm just going to flip it over, add some liquid adhesive to my metal piece here, tap that on there, and then I decided, I need to find something that's going to move a little better. So I did go into my wonderful stash of things, and I found this teeny tiny little dragonfly with a big old eye on the back. It's a button from Jesse Jameson or Buttons Galore or more, whatever. It's old. I have no clue. But if I wouldn't have found that one that would work perfectly for this one, I would have resorted to run downstairs and dig through my bead stash, because I might do some beaded jewelry here and there. And I was thinking I had some options there that would work. And so that would be the other option I would say is probably easier to find. I just ended up being lucky and having something that worked perfectly for that little string that's on here. Once I got it set right, and then I just had to walk away and let it dry, because I'm about as patient as a 2-year-old on a pixie stick. So I figured I would work on my sentiment while I was finishing up letting things dry. So I decided I wanted to do this on a straight line sentiment strip, nothing too bold. I wanted to keep this one fairly simple because I really did want that string slider to be the whole point of the whole card, like the center of attention here. So I did put that on I ended up putting it on a scrap piece of cardstock here, and it was longer than 5.5 inches, so I ended up restamping it. And yes, I did end up with some overstamp on the bottom, but it didn't matter because it was far enough away that I just cut it off when I was trimming. No big deal. And so I will just glue that straight on here and then pop that on top of my blended, I can't find words today, blended mountaintops. And if you notice, the mountaintops when I blended them was the scraps that I was using when I did my first card in this series. I am adding some more weight on this again because I do want it to have quite a bit of weight so it flows well. And that really was the trick with this one. And I really think it's just that that pendulum on top is, or it acts more like a pendulum than a slider feature because it's just so teeny tiny on top and big around on the bottom. You know what they say about big bottom girls. They make the world go round. Well, this one wanted to make it swing back and forth, I guess. It's all good. So to finish up the inside of my card, I added another sentiment from the stamp set, and then I'm going to do a little bit of blocking off here and then coming in with my Speckled Egg Distress Oxide, keeping it super light. It didn't stamp totally great, but you got the whole image, so I was okay with it. It's the inside. It's not like it was supposed to be perfect anyways, right? That's what we're going for. And then I'm going to just add my card base or my card front onto my card base here, adding in another line of that double-sided scorer style tape because I didn't want my string to actually disconnect once we were on here. But yes, I could have just kept that black twine type stuff and it would have been fine with the bigger opening on my slider mechanism. So I wouldn't have had to switch it out for the Waxy Flax. You know, it's not here or there. Do as I say, not as I do. I did all of the oopsies, so if you recreate this one, you know, you won't have all of the oopsies. But yes, I would definitely go for a heavier bead style or button back piece on this one for the string slider, just because that image is adorable, but it just doesn't give a whole lot of upper weight, I guess, to it, and so it definitely wants to do more of a pendulum swing than a slide across the card. So there is my completed Slimline slider today. Remember, if MOJO is not on your side, do something you love. And sometimes something we love is troubleshooting things that don't go as planned. I absolutely love figuring out things that don't work the first time. So I hope you have a great one. Come back and see me again because I have 2 more cards done for this card series. So make sure you click that subscribe button below, like the video, all of those things. Thank you so much for supporting Inky and Scrappy's YouTube channel. Keep getting inky.